Hey, machine knitters. Okay, this going live thing on YouTube has been a real challenge. They don't let you set it up quite right before you start. So, all right. So we are on day 3 of our challenge. You guys are doing awesome. I've heard people finishing their backs of the sweater and really getting going. So I'm excited for you guys. So today we are going to talk about what happens on day 3. So sometimes on day 3, you tend to get stuck. And that can be for a few different reasons. I'm working on a sweater right now and I'm a little bit stuck because you start doing things that you haven't done before. So like I'm designing the neckline for this new sweater and it makes your brain work, right? You're learning things, you're trying new stuff. So sometimes we just get stuck, and action breeds motivation. So this is the point where we just need to push through. We need to follow the directions step by step. Go ahead and go back and watch the sweater video that walks you through each step of the sweater, and just try to push through to that next step. Because once you get to that next step, then you're really excited and you're motivated to do the next part because you're done with that really hard thing that you did and now you can move on. So the stockinette stitch part of this sweater goes really fast, right? Like you can just zip back and forth on your machine and not worrying too much about anything. So the front of the sweater is going to go really fast because you've already done the bottom when you did the back. You've already knit to armholes, so you know how to do that. So once you get to the armholes, then the pattern is going to tell you how far to knit before you start your V-neck part of your sweater. So if we look at, let's just look at the sweater I'm wearing since that's easier. The armholes start here and my V-neck doesn't start until here. So you're knitting from your armholes up to the center of your neck. And so that is going to be where you put half of your stitches and hold, and then you're going to decrease along the neckline, and then it will tell you to knit to row something. So you want to make sure that your row counter is counting rows the whole time that you're doing this. And sometimes that can be a challenge because we might not go across the center far enough to make our row counter click to the next row. So make sure that your row counter is doing what it's supposed to at this point. And at some point I may end up switching the pattern so it just says knit so many more rows because that would be easier, right? So, but that's what it says right now. So you just have to do what it says and make sure your row counter is working. Now when you get to the top of your shoulders, you're just going to bind off onto waste yarn. Now the reason I like waste yarn so much is because we are putting these shoulder stitches right back on our machine and connecting the shoulders. So anytime I'm putting stitches back on my machine, like if I were doing a neckline here where I'm putting stitches back on the machine to make like a ribbed neckline, then I would want to use waste yarn. So that's why we're doing it at the shoulders, and that's that's why we did not do it on the back of the neck, because we wanted to bind off those stitches and make a closed edge. So waste yarn does not make a closed edge. You do need to either put that back on the machine or do some other sort of edging. A lot of people that hand knit or crochet like to do some sort of edging along the edge of their sweater anyway. So if that's you, then you can choose how to do that. But for this pattern, we're gonna try to bind everything off on the machine, use the machine for the whole thing. Except for the mattress stitching at the end. Oh, the mattress stitching. Okay, so you guys are super close to getting over that hump of, this is so hard. Knitting a sweater is a kind of a big commitment because you're doing the back, you're doing the front, and usually you're doing a neckline after all that. We're not in this case because it's part of our binding off. But then you are doing each sleeve, probably some ribbing, and then the seaming up at the end. So it is a big project, and you guys, I think, are doing awesome. So just keep going. We talked about, okay, so today your assignment is just to do the front of your sweater. So you're going to end up knitting to the armholes, knit a few more rows, start your bind off. So your bind off is going to do one half of your sweater, and then you're going to cut your yarn. You're going to switch to waste yarn and bind off one shoulder, and then you're going to start your other shoulder, start the other side with your main yarn. So you will have a string here, but it helps to be able to stitch up this V part, because it can pull apart if you aren't careful about making sure that stitch is tight when you start your V-neck, or when you start the second side. So just be aware of that. Try to get this stitch tight, but you can always stitch it up at the end when you are when you're stitching in your tails. Okay, and the other thing that you can do today, if you want to, is to connect your shoulders, because we are now done with the neckline. We're not going to put it back on the machine and do some other kind of neckline. So we're done with the neckline, and you can actually connect your shoulders. So you can either do it today or tomorrow. It doesn't matter, because when we go to do the sleeves, we will put the whole thing back on the machine, and you'll have to have your shoulders connected at that point. When you are connecting the shoulders, make sure that you have the right side of your sweater facing the other right side of your sweater. It doesn't actually matter whether you put the front or back on the machine first. I do have a preference in the directions, but it technically doesn't matter, just as long as you have those right sides together. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a seam on the outside of your sweater. And that's, I mean, if that's what you're going for, that's fine, but usually it's not what we're going for. So, okay. Everything is in the pattern instructions. If you're having trouble, let me know. You can either reply to one of the emails, or you can comment on a video, or you can post in the Facebook group. But make sure that you hop on over to the Facebook group and let me know how your sweater is coming. Share a picture if you have one of your sweater. I would love to see what yarn and stuff you guys are using. And let me know how you're feeling. Now, our video tomorrow our live stream is not going to be at noon. It's going to be later in the day, and I'm not positive what time it's going to be because my kids have an appointment 2 hours away. So it's just going to be a later. I'm guessing 4 p.m. Eastern. It could be as early as 2 p.m. Eastern. It just kind of depends with the babysitter and all that stuff. So I will still see you tomorrow, but it'll be a different time. Okay. I'm having fun. I hope you guys are having fun, and make sure to give your knitting machine some love today. See you guys later.